love, good health, and black power. You know I keep my main man Mill with me. But today we got a special guest with us today, the proprietor of Around the Clock Chicken and Fish, Yahya Muhammed. My main man. My main man.
Yes, sir.
And so, Yahya, I wanted to have you on the show because I love the way you're entrepreneur. Your desire to entrepreneur. Ever since I knew you've been doing your own thing. And so, before we start talking about that, I want to try to dive into your childhood to see how you became the man that you are today.
Well, you know, they say what determines the nature of a person, what goes on around them and what goes on in them. Mm-hmm. You know, I remember I had to go back on my lifeline and you know, they said man can trace himself back to dust. And I always said to myself, what sparked me to go in this direction, to think like this? I remember being a little boy, and I remember crying out to God saying, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I mean, I did this constantly as a child. I would cry every night saying, I don't want to die. And
but hold on, brother. What put you in the state to think you were going to die? Because that's a lot for a kid.
Yeah, it was just that fact that suffering. You know, I said, what determines the nature of a person, what goes on around them and what goes on in them. Right. And what was going on around me was so much chaos. Okay. You know, my family comes from Handover Street. Right. I'm from town, but at the time I was living in Landover, and so summertime I would go back uptown, and you know, Dodgeview, which was Landover, was a tough area too. Yeah. And it was just so much going on and trying to survive in that time, and being young and people were breeding you like an animal in a sense. Right. You know, I'm fighting against other little boys my age, and this man seeing what's going on in my surroundings with my family, my mother, and it was a tough situation, you know.
So when I did my research, everybody I know said, man, that dude's crazy. If he ain't gonna do nothing else, I do my research. Yeah. When I start asking people, they say, man, Snuff been fighting all this life. He ain't got no, he's a nice dude, but if you get it wrong, he'll punch you in your face.
It just that you had to fight to survive, but I understood what the biggest fight was to stay alive.
Right.
And I knew that it was more so not just physical, it was mental.
Yes.
You know, because my fighting came from my anger of my environment. Right. So when someone say back when we was young, your mother, don't, you know, so it was always getting yours off first, and then not just that, having that killer instinct.
Right.
You know, having an instinct to want to harm because of self-hate.
Yes.
You know, and I could speak on it then, but I couldn't speak on it then, but just being so angry because of your condition, and knowing that something can be better.
So let me ask you a question. Growing up in your household, you had brothers and sisters. Was your father home? I know your mom was.
Yeah, my father he left when we was maybe like 6 or 7. So you know, I was a person that I was in love with my father, but I was so disappointed that he had to go on with his life, and my mother had to raise his own mother. Also, you know, she would be so angry because she had to take care of 3 boys.
Yeah, man.
You know, so I was getting the tail end of all the, the spankings, and you look like your father, you get on my nerves. So it was the whole thing was tough.
And so, Byron had to take care of all 3 of y'all. How was your father's funds in the household?
I mean, we grew up on food stamps, cheese, and welfare, living in the projects. So it was tough, but my mother, she did a great job. She made me think that we had it all, but it was just that the struggle of seeing things taking place, because my mother would be in situations that she would meet men or meet one particular man that would beat her, and he would beat my mother and put her out naked, fight her all up. I don't have to see that. Yeah.
And how old were you at this time?
I was like 6, 7. And I vowed, made a vow to myself that when I get older, that I'm gonna deal with it. And that anger built up. And I was more so upset with my father because he allowed, he wasn't there.
You right there to protect.
Yeah, there you go. He wasn't.
That's what the father is there for.
Yeah.
To protect his family.
So I had to defend it, but I was helpless in it.
Yeah.
6 years old,
Yeah.
as a grown man.
Yeah. But I was waiting his age to rise up to be able to do something to this guy, because I'm my first love, my first teacher, my first nurse, my mother is being beaten, and brothers, they young, and it's being kept from my father, so I had to ignore it. So that brought about a lot of anger and
trauma, man. That's trauma right there.
Yeah, it's trauma.
So let me ask you a question. You ever catch up with
No, we ain't gonna talk about when you caught up with it. We gonna keep it moving past
No.
They don't got no statutory for it. You know what's
When I got like 12 years old, I remember him arguing with my mother. And I had a golf club. And I came behind, I think I was maybe like 10. I hit him in the head with the golf club and whipped him.
Right.
I mean, I beat him real bad with it, and my mother was, she was dead.
At 10?
At 10 years old.
Gang, I told you he was a gangster. You know research, man.
But at 10 years old, man, I gave him, I beat him down, and that right then and there, because my mom always told me, you can't beat someone, pick up something and bust them in the head. My brothers and I, we was known for that. Even the big boys, they put their hands on us, we jumped.
Right.
Because anyone, within my age bracket, I could beat him.
Right.
Because I've been boxing since I've been like 6 years old. So I had that up on most people my age because of knowing how to box, knowing how to fight.
And being comfortable with it. That's one of the most things that.
Yeah.
And so later on, I don't want to tell your business up, but you start making it on your own money.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, when I moved from Landover to Oxford Hill,
Right.
and I continued my journey, still that same mentality, that same self-hate. So I was more into being an athlete, but because of my bad behavior and my grades, I could never really exceeded that. So I always was at the gym, boxing gym, and I stayed in my neighborhood. And I said to myself, I was a person that studied the people in my neighborhood, and I said, I didn't want to smoke dope. I didn't want to smoke weed. I didn't want to drink. So them things I never got into. But my anger always wanted me to fight. I always wanted to get that anger out, but I always made it to the point that I was the bully killer. I didn't, someone bullied someone, I wanted to get the bully. I didn't want to I didn't take advantage of people. I didn't like people to be took advantage of,
So you had a sense of justice about yourself.
Yes, always.
At that time,
always. And then, narcotics came into play. I'm sitting around, I'm seeing all these guys, and I'm saying to myself, these guys, soft, they get money.
Yeah.
Let me get some money. And I started in the drug game, and one thing led to another. I looked up, I had a drug kingpin job.
Man.
How many years did you have to end up doing?
10. I had a license, but I gave the time back. I had a license, and I came back, and I gave back the license, and only had a mandatory 10.
Right.
So now I went back on the violation, but my brother had 99 years, and it was my mother, my father, everybody got locked up.
Oh man. So can you go into a little bit without going too deep into what was the situation that led up to your arrest? Like, was it people in your own environment tell on you? Was it something set up? Like, what were some of the things that happened?
We was going through a more of a wild time because I dealt with the people a little different. My brother was the type of person who was real rough. My middle brother name was Maurice. They called him Morty. He was a real rough guy, and I had my two younger brothers, which was Dewan, they called him Whitey, and I had a brother named Coochie. And they was a little younger, but my next to the youngest brother, he was rough. All my brothers were pretty rough, and we established a certain amount of respect that we people knew not to deal with us. But with myself, I was more diplomatic. If someone has a problem, I can work with you.
Yeah.
My rest of my brothers would deal with you. So when time came, they told on him. They more so wanted to protect me. Not saying they wasn't protecting me because they told him, they told me. It was more so, and they called me through wiretap. And with my brother, he was more so trying to settle him because they disliked him. He was the type of person, he was no nonsense. And eventually he got killed. Yeah, he was very fit. I was more respected, and they feared me, but we was more so, I was more respected.
So after you come home, you do your 10 years, how does it look for you come back into the environment? You know, are you working? Do you start a business? How does it when you come home?
Well, it was more so scary because I'm like, I didn't know what to do.
Right.
You know, used to being a rich man at a young age, multi-millionaire selling drugs. I'm thinking to myself, what I'm going to do? You know, I had some money put up, but if you don't have a plan, that's going to go down the
Yes,
top.
sir.
You know.
Yes, sir.
So I'm thinking to myself, what I'm going to do? And I said, you know what? I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say, he said, he don't want you to stop being a hustler. Take it for the betterment of yourself and your people.
Right.
And I took that same energy when I sold dope and I sold coke, getting up early.
Right.
You know, keeping my word.
Right.
Always being on time, always taking that same energy and put it into something positive. And that's how I turned my life.
So you took the same principles from hustling and made it legal.
Made it legal.
Yeah.
Different hustle, the same hustle, different flow.
Okay.
You
So,
know?
I gotta ask you, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I gotta ask you, man, you're so peaceful and humble all the time. When did you find Islam?
Well, Islam found me. You know,
Okay.
I went through all schools of thoughts. I had a brother named, my next door neighbor was named Bunch Bay. He took me to see.
Bunch Bay, your next door neighbor?
Yeah, he was my next door neighbor, Bunch Bay.
Man, you know that's my main man.
Yeah.
Man, he come in the gym, still do 20 pull-ups. He still work out every day, but the last time he told me, he was like, Tony, doctor said I'm going blind.
Yes.
Yeah,
he's a good friend. He was my next door neighbor.
Next door neighbor.
And he took me to see
Sugar Ray Leonard's spine pop.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray Leonard's spine
I
pop.
seen him beat Riddick Bowe, man.
Yeah.
At my gym, he beat Bowe.
Man, that man 100 years old, man.
I seen him beat Bowe, man. Riddick Bowe, man. Bunch Bay. I was there. You know, and
Yeah.
What was his
Small.
weight?
And he only weighed probably like 190,
You're
180.
small, dude. You
Yeah.
know when you come over to the older
Right,
dude to come in the gym, drive the truck when we was over at Tony Gym.
Oh,
There's an old dude coming there, he come in there and work out every day.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know
That
exactly
old
who you
dude.
talking about.
Yeah.
Go over the back and do the pull-ups.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
And be hitting the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you for real?
Yeah, for real. If you
This when
when Bo was this is when Bo was, you know, maybe at the time Bo was probably like talk about coming back. Bo was
Okay.
probably like 40.
okay.
And what, man, you know, Bunch was maybe in his almost 60.
Yeah, I'm here. But Bunch take care of himself.
Yeah, and
If he ain't working out, he dancing.
He gave it to him, but man, I commend him because he took me to my first meeting in Morristown, America, and that was my first calling to Islam because I never knew anything else. I never knew Christianity. I never went to church or anything, and I heard Brother Love Ill, and I was saying, I was telling people, you know, I'm a Moor, such and such and such and such. But as time went along, I didn't see, not saying I didn't see the benefit of not discredit or no duality. I didn't see the community, them in the community.
Right.
I didn't see what I was looking for. I was still, you know, making excuses with, oh, I'm in my lower self today,
Right,
you know,
right.
and that was always an excuse. And it wasn't enough for me.
Right.
We as black people need something. It wasn't even, I knew that Noble Ali work wasn't finished, and everybody was fighting over who should be this and who should be that and who should be the leader when our people still suffer.
Right.
You know, and then.
So it's not a knock on the Moorish town. It's just different strokes for different folks. That just ain't work for you.
It was more so that
Or was it a building block?
it's a building block, but it's not. It's some people that's good,
Right.
but it's just like this is how I look at life. If you want to be the best person you can be, without taking the lesser way to God, that wasn't satisfying.
Right.
Because the proof is in the pudding.
Right.
It just wasn't. I didn't see what I cried out to God that I was going to. I could still die.
Right.
And I'm saying it's not benefit for some, but I felt like that the people that was that can elevate. You know what you always say, when one is on the journey of truth, he should never return.
Right.
And I feel like that know what you Ali work wasn't finished, and the people I felt that he got killed because he had more to offer.
Right.
You know, he had more.
I didn't know he got killed.
Yeah, he got killed. So therefore, they killed him. And there's a thing that his work, people didn't get a chance to see the advancement of it, because I know he wanted to evolve into something, because everything is a process.
Right. Yeah.
But everybody was stuck in that process.
Right.
And then, you know, I came to Al Islam, which was Wafdi Muhammed, which was something called Sunni Islam. And, you know, it was more so, the focus was more so our original language.
Right.
But with that, it wasn't what I was looking for either. You know, because language is not going to hold you.
Yeah.
Jolly beard and the gold teeth and the beard, that doesn't, they think that's makes a Muslim.
Right.
And then one day, man, I get incarcerated, and I'm on lockup, and a brother named Jamil Muhammed, he was a correctional officer named C.O. Constant. He slid a message to the black man from my book. And man, I read that book, brother, and tears came to my eyes.
Man.
You know, you hear about Nipsey Hussle talk about that book. You see pictures of Muhammad Ali holding that book up.
Yeah, that's the premier book.
That
You
is
know, for black people. Period,
man. That book right there, man. Once you read that book, you can never be the same nigga. And once I read, I said, how can anyone deny this, unless they want a lesser God, you know, or a lesser what they call so-called reality? Because there's only one reality that's God.
Yeah.
But how can you not accept this? This is non-debatable. And then I seen, like I said, the proof is in the pudding. Here is all the greats, where they come from.
Man.
They come from the nation of Islam. You got the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad,
Yes, sir.
which is, you know, is the, without him, he's the umbrella,
Yes,
you
sir.
know?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Then
sir.
you got Wafdi Muhammad, who came from him,
Yes.
right? Who started Al Islam. You got Muhammad Ali,
My
who's
man.
the greatest fighter of all time, not because of, he became the greatest because of his name.
Right.
See, a good name is better than gold.
Right.
And his name itself,
Right.
Muhammad, means one who's worthy of praise, who prays much.
Right.
And Ali means the Most High.
Right.
So that name itself,
Man.
the Most Honorable
He
Muhammad knew what he
definitely
did.
worthy of praise for the things he did.
Right.
Yeah.
So Muhammad Ali knew he was doing when by giving him.
Right.
And then you got Malcolm X, who had an 8th grade education, and it was told by a man who only had a 3rd grade education.
Man.
So you know only God can do that.
Man. It took over the world.
And took over the world.
Yes, sir.
And I talk to people all over the world. And every person I have met, I have known people, Kenya, Gambia, and this is West Africa,
Right.
Nigeria. If
Right.
I go east, Yemen,
Right.
I go Ethiopia,
Right.
I can go Somali,
Right.
Somaliland. Everybody know the Honorable Minister of Farrakhan. They know Malcolm X.
Right.
They know Muhammad Ali.
Ali.
But not speaking of anyone else, but what else did?
Right.
Who else is, man, know this enemy like that? And then
Right.
I studied the ones that they couldn't get out of.
Right.
That was big figures. And
Right.
that was the thing that I did. I studied Muhammad Ali, I studied Malcolm X, not talking bad about them, but I seen how Satan defeated them in a sense.
Right.
Some people are going, Muhammad Ali didn't get defeated by the devil. When he passed, when he died, you know, the Jews owned him. If you buy his clothes today, the Jews own Muhammad Ali.
They own his name. He don't even know. He can't even own his name.
Nah, for real?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told the
So
owner
the Ali Center in Louisville, that's them.
everything that what his name is, because at the end, Satan defeated him. And I hate to say this, but I'm speaking truth. And that's the people I study. And that's what I cried out not to, when I said I didn't want to die, I understood that because Satan is powerful, man. Even with Malcolm. Malcolm and his wife Betty was a sign. The fire, his wife died, and the fire is made for the what? The hypocrite. Am I right? And he did go astray. You know, but he was a sign. Some people got to be the sacrificial lamb.
Right.
And he said this himself. He told the owner, he said, I wish I could have been in, you could have been an example for me, but I had to be for you. Someone had to pay the way. He couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
So when you read of the falling star, he was the falling star. So I studied him.
So you was incarcerated when you found Islam,
Yeah.
or Islam found you.
I knew Islam before I was there, but it couldn't hold me to the point that it could change my life the way it did into the teachings of Muhammad under the guidance of Yahya.
And so, again, I did my research. Before I met you, you had your own gym.
Yes, sir.
What was that like? What made you decide you want to get a gym?
Well, always being a boxer, and after I lost my mind,
Right.
went back into the world, I said to myself, let me get a gym.
Right.
Let me get a gym. I wanted to fulfill all my visions because I know what I was taught, that anything that the mind can see, it can achieve.
Right.
But first you got to what? You got to believe.
Right. Right.
I believed it.
Yeah.
And everything that I visualized, I can bring it to reality. What you see right now, in the Circle 7, know what Ali says, or in the Circle 7, I'm not going to say know what Ali said because this book, was written, which was in Circle 7, it was already written before, but it said time never was when man was not. So they say, but it also said that the thought is the cause of it all. Everything you see in front of you, someone thought it and brought it to what?
Like,
Brought it to
Yes,
us.
yeah.
And that's the power that we have that we don't utilize.
right. Right.
Put it like this. I got one thing. And close your eyes and imagine two.
Yeah.
And you can imagine three. So that's how thought is. You
Yeah.
understand? But we have to build on it, but first you have to believe. And that's how we have to do with anything. People always ask me, how did you do this? How did you do that? I said, first you have to believe. But you can't, it's like the brother got on, he wasn't also getting on you about time, but time is everything. And that's something you can't take back.
Yeah.
And respecting time.
Yeah.
That's something I always was good at, respecting someone else's time. And I made people respect my time. And I was always, the person can never tell you that I'm late. Because that's how you be successful in business. And everything that my mind, see, when I came and opened up the first thing I did before I even got the keys, I closed my eyes, like I told you, and I imagined myself turning the door.
Man, you open the door every day. It's Sunday.
Yeah. But you understand?
I understand.
And
I
the same
understand.
colors, if you
In the box, we call it visualization. Like even before you go to the fight, you're going to visualize how this fight going to go. And if you believe in your heart, this how it's going to go. This how it's going to go.
and that's how it went.
And this how it's going
And
to
every
go.
color that's in here is the same color I had on my kid.
Yeah.
Black and red, that's my color.
So when I met you, even though you boxed and was a boxing coach, you made your mark as a strength and conditioning. And so run some of the names off some of the people that you trained.
Strength conditioning with Bo, Genuine, Panda.
Man, tell me about you knocking on Randy's door, because you said
Hey, that's great.
tell me about you knocking.
When I was with him in College Park, and I was running to get him up. And what made the difference between him and Ray Bo was one was gifted and one was talented.
Right.
And Bo was God gifted, but he was so lazy that he didn't utilize it.
Yes. No, just
Can you break down that's a powerful quote you just said. One was gifted and one was talented. Can you break down, along with what you're about to say about the two, can you break down the two between gifted and talented?
See, gifted is something that God gives you that you can't. That when He gives it to you, you got to utilize it. If you don't use it, you lose it. And that's what Bo was. He didn't use it. We had to con him, do all these things to get him, to even to train. But he could have been the greatest. But here's a man that's only 6'2", 6'1", that was just
205.
205 pounds, really
Small.
blown up.
But he had to blow up to be a real heavyweight. He wasn't no heavyweight for real.
And
That's what he blowed up to, because he was like,
Yeah, and
170, 180.
yeah, he's a natural small. That's why right now he's back small. But his thing is that he's talented, and then he had discipline, and that's the same thing that we had to utilize to make it in business and life that had to drive there. Guess what? Someone know how to knock you.
Yeah, 'cause I remember you told me, man, I'm not going to, you say, man, you ain't got to knock on my door.
Before I even hit the door,
Man.
he ready to book.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, and that and that's why he's the only 5-time world champion.
Man.
Heavyweight.
Man.
Because his work ethic.
And not even a heavyweight.
Not even
Not even-
Yeah. And to blow up to be a heavyweight.
And some would argue that he's one of is the
Well,
greatest.
what? I know he's one of them.
He's one of them.
Yeah.
You know, because of here's a man that understood the God within himself. He's a
Right.
God-fearing man.
Right.
And
Right.
loved the Lord.
They love the Lord.
I mean, he had a heart problem. He told himself, man, that's what the doctors said.
Yeah.
I don't have a heart problem. He went back to the doctor. Guess what they said?
It's fine.
You don't got a heart problem.
You ain't got no
But that's the power of the thought.
Yeah.
But see,
Yes.
you understand this, that society has dumbed us down as a people that we don't utilize the tools in the workshop of our mind.
Man.
You understand? We've been dumbed down. We don't know how to utilize the tools.
Man,
You're right, we dumb down with all these different technologies we have,
Yeah.
Facebook, we spend so much
This
time.
is where-
You know what's interesting? Right now,
TikTok.
to this day, we have more information in our hand that rulers had back in the past.
Yes, sir.
But yet, majority of the internet is viewed watching porn and other low-level stuff.
Yes, because this is, but you have to understand, like I said, the enemy understands the laws of cause and effect. And when he does, he plays things over and over and over, and your subconscious takes the data. You know, this is how they make the computer. You got the hardware and the software. And the mind takes the conscious and the subconscious.
Yeah.
It's below the conscious, so it holds the data.
Yeah.
And if you do something
Consistently.
yeah, you know, repetition is the mother of learning.
Yeah.
So he's feeding this homosexuality to you. He's feeding interracial marriage. So all these things are being fed to us to destroy our way of thinking, because the mind is created, the brain is created to what? To think right. And he's teaching you the opposite. Everything that we've been taught has been backwards. We've been backwards taught. Even the way that we even read from left to right. We're supposed to read from right to left. That's why if you open the Quran, and Arabic goes from right to left.
Right, left, right, left.
That's why when we salam out, we go right to left.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and then that's everything we did.
Right.
Even to the point they even taught us about family structure. You know, the father holds the seed. They'll tell if your father have a son that's your stepbrother. But that's your real brother.
Yeah.
You understand?
Definitely understand.
That's your real brother.
That's your brother.
You know.
Yeah.
But that's how backwards they taught us.
Right.
And we believed it. Oh, that's my stepbrother, and we got the same father.
Yeah.
Man.
But see how we've been taught.
We've been taught. And now, you know, another thing, you explained the talent. We will come back to this, the spiritual point, because this is really the most important. But tell me the talent or the gifts that Big Bo had.
Well, he was oversized. He was big. He had a jab. He had a mean right hand.
Uppercut.
He had a mean uppercut.
Hold it, Joe.
He had it all.
Yeah.
But his thing was, Neil, that he had no discipline.
No discipline.
And that's the reason why, when I was talking, I'm going to take this back to religion, nothing else worked for me. Because the Nation of Islam gives you a certain amount of discipline. Man, without discipline, you cannot win.
You can't win.
You can't win.
The reason I brought that back, because I think that's very important about what you're saying. That no matter all the gifts you have, if you don't have discipline, you can't show the world or succeed. Because I believe every God made everything with its own. Everything God made is for a reason.
Come on, man.
So every time you hit this ground, all three of us come from different places, but God gave us something for us to fulfill a certain mission on this planet.
Yes, sir.
And so if you don't have that discipline, then you're gonna miss your mission.
Come on.
And you move on. You're not
And
gonna get-
you teach him in our lessons. It said in our place, it said discipline is an honor.
Yes, sir.
And being disciplined does not mean that you're being punished.
Yeah.
You understand? There's an
I
honor in
understand.
it.
I understand.
And I understood that, not anything else, because this is the key right here. I want y'all to remember. If you don't understand white supremacy, you don't understand anything.
Yeah.
Oh, nearly full of it.
Yeah.
Nearly feel it. There you go.
Yeah.
Because at the root of everything, racism destroyed the bloodstream of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So they put the white man face up, and here's the black man, he's still suffering. You go to the masjid, the white man is given a khutbah, and the black man got to be balak because he called the thing. You know, when people say, well, race don't mean anything, but why did they paint Jesus white?
If it don't mean nothing, so why don't you change it the way the Bible said it was?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and while we're suffering as people, if you don't see yourself in the equation, then it's going to be a what? A problem.
And now you speaking of, I'm glad you, because we always say mind, body, and soul. So tell me, I'd like to know, how do you think Islam, do you think Islam is a faith for black people?
Well, Islam is not Islam is a way of life. When you, I mean,
What I meant to say, do you think it would benefit black people in particular?
man, I know people all over the world.
Right.
And I talk to, people from West Africa, and every black nation that's out throughout Africa, even 90% of it's Muslims.
Yeah.
And they have grew up like how we grew up in the early 70s and 80s. They poor.
Right.
But guess what? They're happy.
Right.
They don't suffer from mental illness.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the other word I used? It wasn't mental. I said
Depression.
Right. A lot of times I said when they suffer from anxiety, they ungrateful.
Yeah.
They suffering is ungrateful. They ungrateful because they feel like they should have more, but they don't understand why they struggle. I remember on Facebook I presented that mental illness comes from a person that just don't want to do right. They argue me down, this and that, and I showed them what 500 psychiatrists said mental illness comes from false worship. They shut up. I had doctors, the so-called doctors when they was trying to argue, but 500 said false worship of what? Who the true living God is. He's in you.
Yeah.
He's in you. But if you've been taught that, man, you're looking for a mystery God,
Right.
and you don't know God is within you, that's why he said, I'm the God.
Yeah.
See, he's the God of God.
Yeah.
When you know who God is, you don't have to keep looking ahead. While the enemy is building a heaven right here on earth, you looking at going in the sky.
Right.
That doesn't make sense. That's not reality, and that's not what our forefathers was taught.
Right.
You understand? And you go back now. I'm in God's will. I'm going to be moving to Africa, which is Gambia. It's God's will. When I moved there, I see a sense of peace there. That's because the movie Roots started there.
Right.
And I wanted to, one day to experience to go back.
Yeah.
Being trapped in here, having to teach the Most Honorable Muhammed, I have a sense of, giving my life to want to help my people. That's why outside of this, if I ain't doing this, I'm trying to bring about a unification of the communities.
Yes.
I try to bring different communities together because I know what separated them the language. If someone gives you their language and tell you that, man, you're different and you fighting and saying he's this type of Muslims, but all the time you don't know your own language, they can play with you.
Yeah.
You understand? And that's how they trick us. So you got brothers with more signs, beef with the brothers from Nation Islam, but you call yourself Islam is your religion, but you don't know your true language. So you argue with him about things that he's saying he's black, he's saying he's more, but the word black and more is the same thing. But you want to play games.
Right.
Now you want that to separate.
Right.
It's too much separation, and at the root of unity is what? Love. Because that's what God is what? Love.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Go ahead.
So, speaking of that, I see, we have Elijah Muhammad, Farrakhan. You speak about the Prophet Muhammad when you say peace be upon him. I know you believe in Jesus. Can you tell some of our viewers what does Islam mean to you, and what actually is Islam? Because a lot of people they look at Christianity and Islam and Judaism as three different separate things when they all come from the Abrahamic line. And if you can explain some of the ties that tie all these together and how they're one. And
Yes, sir. Before there was an Abraham, there was Islam. Islam is the nature of God, meaning peace. When you're going through something, the first thing you throw to your hand to, When you say what?
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.
Maybe I just want peace. But in Islam, that's surrender. So every time we make a rule, we say God is the greatest. Allahu Akbar. So because it's the nature of God Himself. It is transcended and evolved to prayer. You know, because now you're taking the people that's saying, as Satan grew in the Bible from what? From a serpent. I mean, from a serpent to what? A dragon.
Right.
It means he got what? He's bigger.
Right. Yeah, bigger, more powerful.
He's more powerful.
Yeah.
So you just praying like this, you're gonna need another form of prayer.
Right.
So Salah is taking you back into each stages,
Right.
but always falling down to your creator, but getting back up.
Right.
Because now you giving homage to a force and power that's greater than yourself, but what? Inside yourself.
Right.
So you need a little more to fight this bigger devil.
Right.
Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, couldn't deal with the devil we have today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Jesus, we already know he destroyed him and his disciples.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Moses, no one can deal with this devil. And that's why when they mean prophecy, 75% of this is prophecy. They prophesied it to happen.
Right.
This is the Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
This is Babylon the Great.
Man.
We have to stop looking back yesterday
Yeah.
and understand this is, man, that's why it's called prophecy.
Right. Right.
So God talked about one who will come.
Right.
That will see, Christ means the crusher of the what? Of the wicked. It's a title. That's not his name, Jesus the Christ. Christ means the crusher of the wicked. And what made me say the proof is in the pudding, who is the man who's crushing them? Who the wicked hate? So they hate the elements, those brothers.
Right.
So I had to go, you know, when people say, man, the Lakers my team because they winning.
Right.
The Patriots my team because they winning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
I'm with Tony because he's a great coach because his team is what? Winning.
Right.
So why would I want to be with someone else that ain't winning?
Right. Right.
You understand? That don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So when I see people say that, I say, man, you just want a lesson. You want an easy road to being a champ.
Yeah.
You want an easy road to God.
Yeah.
When deep down in your subconscious, you know that that's not good enough for you. When you can still be a Negro, excuse me, and you can still mistreat women, and you can still call a woman B, and you can still, man, use drugs and say, man, I'm in my lower self.
Right.
Or I can wear a jolly beard, but I'm smoking weed.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I'm saying, man, I'm a Muslim. He's still a Muslim, but you'll call a brother from the nation. No, I'm not a Muslim, but he don't sell drugs. He don't use drugs, but he's more the person that's selling drugs because he has a beard and jolly beard. This brother ain't a Muslim. A Muslim is what a Muslim does.
There it is.
You know, so that's not reality to me, but that's the reality of, so-called reality of the day.
Yeah. And that's a spiritual teaching throughout all the.
Man, you are what you
But what Jesus said, you'll know them by their actions.
By their actions. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that made me take that route, because I'm like, man, I want to defeat the champion. The thing that I cried out of being dead, I didn't want to die mentally.
Right.
Because we lived to die.
Yeah.
And I know we all probably, when I talk about this, you probably remember crying about dying, didn't you?
I never thought about it.
I feared death because my mom was in a wheelchair, so I seen the repercussions and seen how basically death taken me.
Yes.
So, you know, as a kid, I definitely remember questioning God, like, what is this all about? And that's what kind of put me on the spiritual route.
See what I mean? Because now he's fighting with himself.
Yeah, I apologize. I grew up on 16 Street. Brothers and stuff. So it was always easy. It was always easy for me. I apologize.
You see what he said? Do the history on him and what he did. Yeah, he talking about. He said he was the first person with white neighbors. He said y'all talk about gentrification. I had white neighbors in the 70s.
I didn't know that about you, Tony.
Yeah. I always.
But then,
my parents never had a store, so we always was well off.
But as about trying to get down to the store, that's what changed his life.
So y'all, let me ask you, because when I first met you, it was a strength and conditioning training, and you had a food truck, and you told me, you was like, man, I'm a fool with this food truck for a minute, but my goal is to get this restaurant.
You know, because I knew that being a trainer was going to wear. I mean, it didn't take it takes finances of the nation.
Right.
And I said, I can't lift I seen the nation of Islam be built off of bean pies.
Right.
And food.
Right.
And business. So I said to myself, you know, I only can go but so far with being a trainer, because if I had to travel with celebrities, when I come back, I lost like 10 of my customers.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I said, I can't do this. I can't continue to do this. So what I did, I took as one, and I tell people this, don't quit your job. You know, when you come into a thought of doing for self, you still give the enemy an honest aim. And you still work towards your goal, and to your goal, get to the point that you can't do the enemy's job, and then you push it out and come with your own plan. And that's what I did. I worked at LA Fitness. I worked at all different types of gyms, but once I accumulated enough money, I knew the physical part, but I studied the business part. The most honorable Muhammed said like this, he said, study the white man. He makes no excuses for his failure. So I studied the business part.
Right.
I'm marketing.
Right.
I learned how to market by watching.
Right.
You know, how to use strategy.
Right.
You know, how to use social media. All these different things, I say, I'm going to utilize this.
Right.
And that's how I became successful after that. But once again, not losing my discipline made me lose it all.
Man, but you know, I think you said something that I think is very important, because one thing I see when I try to watch podcasts on YouTube or stuff like that is everybody is selling you a get-rich-quick scheme, right? And so what you said to me is very important. Like, this ain't no overnight thing. Work your job, but you put in extra overtime for your own work. It reminds me, Frederick Douglass said in his book, he said you can tell the N-word, the Negroes and the black men. He said because during slavery, Christmas was their only day off. Holidays, he said the Negroes would be getting drunk, having parties and laughing, and the slave master loved it, like they just happy. And he said the black men, the people who were seriously trying to get their freedom, will be working.
That's right.
So I'm glad you say that, because a lot of people have a misconception of success. Success is hard work, sometimes not able to get the sleep you want, doing the things you don't want to do, but working at it. So I'm just glad that you
it's sacrifice. It's
sacrifice.
It's making the sacrifice that no one else want to make. You know, when I got here, I had my van. It's in the back. I keep it back there. It can only move now, but I slept in my van, and we was doing 24 hours, so we did shifts. I did this when I sold drugs. You know, before the police even knew about crack, we ran shifts, making $20,000 and $30,000 a night in one day selling crack. So I said, let me take that same mentality. Instead of being in the crack house, I'm sitting in the van. So when the other guy that's here said, I'm tired, I'm coming. We made that sacrifice. And when I hear the phone ring, boom, I know it's my turn to come in. And we did this for over and over and over until we established it. But the thing was, the person that started off as my partner, guess what? The racing for the Swift is wonder what? Who can endure? He said, man, I want to be out. I said, okay, no problem. I see the vision, because it was started off as my vision. He wanted to give the part of it, and I paid for him to come in, but I said, you know what? He don't want to work hard. So I kept it going, and I kept it going. And I think a lot that I kept that same work ethic, but it was because of the Minister Louis Farrakhan said that thing, and it's one of his key, one of my favorite, it was this one was called Belief in Allah. You remember he talked about David and Goliath, and I want y'all to hear this story because it's very powerful. You know the story of David and Goliath. David was the man, and Goliath supposed to have been this giant. Yeah. And when David went to slay Goliath, Saul said, "Man, you can take my helmet of brass and my chest and armor." He said, "No, God delivered a lion and a bear in my hand."
Yeah.
He said, but he gave him 5 rocks.
Right.
And the 5 rocks represents the 5 pillars of Islam. But he only needed one.
Yes.
And he slayed the giant. Guess what that one was? Belief in Allah.
Yeah, man.
And he took that and he hit him and he knocked him down, and his fame spread all over the world.
Yes.
But guess what? He slayed the thinking, because the giant was what? That giant bird that was him that was Satan.
Right.
He cut the head off of Satan.
Yeah.
You You understand?
I understand now. I
Well, he only used one rock.
Right.
And that was what? Belief in the lie. Now, all you had to do was believe. And they say all you had to have a belief of as small as a mustard seed. See how
Mustard seed, man, yeah.
Look how little bit of that.
Yeah.
And I think I have a little more than that.
Yeah.
Because I totally believe.
Right.
It's nothing that if I say it, if I can see it, I can do it.
Right.
I really
If you
believe
see
it.
it in your mind, if you
I
can
can see it.
visualize it,
I can visualize
this
it.
is done.
And I take that same effort into saying, you know, I ain't gonna steal from nobody.
Right.
I ain't gonna rob nobody.
Right.
I ain't gonna take nothing stolen from nobody.
Right.
I'm gonna do what the true religion is.
Right.
The true religion is do unto others what you want what?
So let me ask you, Yahya, now that you got the business up and it's successful, what's a typical day for you? What time you get up? What time?
I get up maybe like 4:30, sometimes 3:30. It depends on how tired I am the day before.
Right.
But I'm always up early because it gives me, I know my power hour.
Right.
My power hour is at 5. 5 is the number of power.
Right.
And it's my power hour. Like Neil said, his is 4:30. You know, it's just when the universe is just pulling me to say, hey man, this is powerful, and everything is clear to me. You know, I'm thinking over my thought about what I'm gonna do. I'm getting ready to offer salat, and I'm more so in a meditative state, but ready for salat, and just asking the Lord, you know, to bless me to make it to another day and to overcome the whisper of sin.
Right. So you get up. What time do you usually get to the shop?
Well, I'll get here maybe like 5:30, 6 o'clock. I go to the restaurant store and they open up at 6, get everything together. The person that meets me, I open the door so he can start prepping while I'm getting everything together. And it's repetition over and over. You know, I make sure that I'm always beating him. I don't want him to never see that he beats me. He should not never beat you. I said, because if I'm gonna be a leader, I'm gonna be a good leader. I'm gonna lead by example. So I'm always there. You know, I just say, man, don't be like Neil.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Man, you see, hey, you see how you let the devil corrupt you already, man. You talking all this good stuff, man. You got corrupted that quick, man.
It was a teaching moment, man, because I want you, it's a thing that as long as you continue to make excuses, right, it's going to hinder you.
Yeah.
And whatever you try to whatever you want in life, that's going to be your excuse, because guess what? Devil is the what? He's the justifier.
And you know what's so funny?
That was a justifier.
You know what am
He's
I?
the justifier.
You know what the
Makes
things?
Sense? I thought he was the one to make excuses, but he to justify.
Justify and excuse the same thing.
But look,
Same thing.
you know what's so
Excuse and
interesting?
justify.
Right.
In the Holy Quran, it said that God will use Satan to bring his servants closer to him.
Yeah. But you understand that, right? Meaning that out of bad comes what?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So in the Bible, God said that the devil is his sword. So this is what the white man is doing now. He's beating us into shape. He's killing us so we can unite. So he's his sword. See, the predator is pushing him away to the point he's trying to go to where?
Man,
He's trying to go to Mars. Would you tell me?
Elon Musk, man, Bezos, all of them trying to get up there.
They trying to get up there.
They trying to get away from it.
They trying because guess what? The planet is pushing them away.
Yeah.
See,
They
look what you Ali say right here. What do you say right here?
Yeah.
Read that. Somebody read that. Get anybody see that?
I gotta read that for you. There's only going to be a handful saved. I can count them on my fingers, and I have fingers left over.
Man.
No, what you all say? This is one of my heroes.
Right.
You know, he's my hero. And a lot of people they think that Noble Ali didn't understand who Satan is. You know, but this is his quote from Noble Ali. Because he knows that there ain't gonna be that many left.
Right.
You know, because in the new world, they're not gonna be here. And this is why we as a people have no economic power. You know, I heard one of the brothers say, we don't contribute nothing but sweat, dance, football, boxing.
Basketball.
All we do is contribute sweat.
Yeah.
You know, sweating kids, crying, hands up, don't shoot. We talking some inferior stuff. That man, that sounds so inferior. Somebody about to come in and fight me. I'm like, man, I don't want no problem.
Oh, no. You peace.
Well, I ain't trying to take money out of your cash register. You
I want to get back to you said something powerful, and I think that a lot of people I reflected on it because my father was from Ghana in particular, but you was telling about your plans in Africa.
Yeah, my plans are actually going back. Going back to our roots. If you look at remember the movie Roots? It was in Gambia, and I'm actually thinking about I'm in the process of moving back there to build a home, and take what I was taught here, because the hustle and bustle is here. To do this job right here, it came to the point I had to be hands-on to keep the reputation, because our people got to the point now that we've been fed the king's meat. We've been spoiled and robbed. So if you don't give it to them, they either want to take it or they don't want to work hard. And it's tough that it's like that, but I understand who put us in that condition. So I want to go and help someone that's more grateful, because they robbing Africa. Yeah. They robbing our Africa, man. And the thing is that we have our culture, we have our religion, we have our language, but it's being robbed. So it needs to be a new political system that we, as the blacks here in America, need to go back home, and we can help. We need to go back to help. And then we make that united hand that the Muhammad speech used to say, the united hand of Asia, meaning that we can reach back and we can become, we can unify. At the same time, we can do trades. Right. We can do commerce. We can have a sense of unity that we can rely on each other, because Satan, the world is up. And if you don't know it or not, that's why you're seeing everything satanic order is moving fast now. Right. It's moving so fast. This pestilence was a thing to wake us up, but it's also to separate us. Because God, He didn't want us to integrate. He wanted us to separate. Right. But first we got to separate from where? His way of thinking. And that's why, man, I just had a guy come in, he said, man, I can barely stand. I took the shot. I said, man, brother, why is you so trusting of your enemy? Here's a man doesn't have, excuse me.
He took the shot.
Hey, don't listen to him, man. Don't listen to him, man. Don't listen to him, man. Hey, don't listen to him, man. Hey, man, don't listen to him. He's always starting something. That's why he was up there at 16th Street. You see that? You see, he's the first one with them.
I'm going to tell you this right here. All jokes aside, man, we have to get to the point that we got to know that everything has a natural enemy. And the cat, the dog, the rat, everybody has it. Now our natural enemy is the Caucasian man. He's a natural enemy. He can't help himself. You ever heard Michael Jackson say, you can't help yourself if you wanted to? If I could, he cannot help himself. But we don't understand that, because we still looking for a mystery devil and a mystery God. Yes. So we don't understand that he is our opposer. He is our oppressor. He has a natural hate for him. So a white guy tried to dispute me. I said, man, you have all that strong opinion that you're not that. Why you see injustice take place with? Why you don't see white people that's so powerful speak up for our hurts? Why don't you? Because their reality is not our reality. He's not us, brother. He's a man. He's a kind of a man. And you got to understand this, man, until we get this. And you think, the Bible says it like they said, every knee will bow and every tongue confess. When the young Minister Louis Farrakhan is no longer with us, which we living in that time, a lot of so-called Negroes that had something to say about him, they're going to say, man, he was right. Because the more and more, this right here is my stage right here, Tony. Mm-hmm. This is the stage for me. Sometimes I'm upset because I feel like I should be out on the battlefield. Right. But the most I'm going to say it's a big field for the wide awake man. I think I'm a wide awake. Yeah, and I don't think I know him. Right. And when people come here, I speak with them. Right. And I have the minister plan, and they say, man, what is the minister say? Why are so many killings in Chicago if he's there? I said, don't you think they will make it seem like that he can't control it? They dropping guns and drugs in there because they know the man of God is dead. Right. They know he's dead. So therefore they want to make it seem like what? Like they did Jesus. Right. So they're going to make it seem like that that he's not doing anything, but all the time, guess what? Satan is man that has his hands in everything.
Right.
He's the master of tricknology.
Right.
You understand? I heard that the sister was it Sabaz Ali, whatever, to write the book, wrote the book. But she said that. She said, but if he's the Messiah, or if he's the Messiah, why is all these killings in Chicago? And she don't understand the enemy. She don't understand who the devil is. Talking like that. What was her name? Something Ali that wrote this. She don't know who the devil is. She don't understand. She can't fathom the mindset of Satan. We can't even come into it. So you thinking they ain't planning this? They got agents and the vice lords and the BGs. Man, these men, come on, man. How many times we gonna be tricked by this enemy? He's sick, man. When they blame the Nation of Islam for years for killing Malcolm, and the government gets on there and tell them they killed them. And guess what? The people ain't do nothing. And they still found a reason to say, well, the minister said that we are responsible. He said we created an atmosphere by speaking of how we should deal with the trade, and everyone should deal with the trade. Because we get to the point now we're going to have to deal with these rappers. We're going to have to deal with our own people before we deal with this enemy. Because what they're going to do, just like they did in that tournament, they're going to say, here you go, boss.
Yeah.
We see them.
Right.
We see these ones that's doing it.
Right.
You know, we see these coon bullies
Right.
or coon bullies.
Right.
Scared of the white man, but want to bully his brother.
Right.
We're going to have to deal with them, man. Revolution is going to have to take place first in the house, and then we're going to deal with it. But God said, guess what? He said, vengeance is what?
Right.
Mine. Because he's going to deal with the enemy, but we're going to have to deal with him on the ground, and somebody's going to deal with him in the air. And you figure out what I mean by the air. That's why they seeing all these wheels or UFO sightings, because now they got to release it.
Right.
The public want to know what this is.
Right.
Well, the same God that created the heavens and earth,
Right.
is the same God who created that so-called, that Ezekiel called the wheel.
Right.
They started to see it, right?
Right.
Have you ever witnessed one?
man,
I haven't witnessed them, but I hear it all
I
the
read a
time.
New York Times article about the lady who was a fighter pilot, and then it's a big article that showed that it was unequivocal that this was something out that wasn't within the framework of this world that they see.
Yes.
It was up there, and then you can go on YouTube and see the pictures of what they showed. But this came out, and it's coming out a little bit more.
Yeah, because the devil had to reveal himself. See, the one thing he's going to do, he's going to testify
Right.
and say, all I did is suggest.
Right. Yeah, I took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's revealing his hand.
Right.
Because he's a believer.
Right.
Yeah.
You understand? Is he a believer? And the thing is that he's going to wipe his hands clean. He's going to say, man, I showed my whole hand.
Right.
That's why some of us in the new world, or the hereafter, after the destruction of Satan, they ain't going to be there.
Yeah.
Because they believed in him. And he's alive and he's well, brother.
Yeah.
You said something.
The lady say, I got a buddy say, man, my grandmother say something good about everybody. He said, I'm gonna trick, I'm gonna ask him what's good about the devil. And he said his grandmother say, he ain't lazy, he busy. He's alive and well and working all the time.
Is she right?
Yeah.
Because he worked for good what?
Man.
Very good.
Yeah. He's
Man,
always working.
you mentioned something that made me think about this question. One of the things that is a real pandemic in the black community is the black family. They say 80% of kids are raised in a single family home, which is one of the majority is. And so, can you give us a little bit of insight what you think about relationship is how Islam treats it? What is your your insight into this problem in the black community and how can we solve it?
I'm going to tell you what I think is the problem, and then I'm going to give you what I think is the solution. The problem is that, man, self-hate is running so rampant in our community because, if you don't know self, you disrespect self because you don't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know what to expect for yourself, how can you do good for someone else?
Yeah.
And the solution The only solution is that, man, you got to know yourself. It's right back to self.
Right.
Because going science to when you say, well, after you study self, what do? You study selves. You got a higher self and a lower self. Your lower self is anything godly, anything else. Your lower self, that's why they said the devil is what? He's love.
Right.
You know, so once you get to know yourself, then you can love yourself. Like Chuck Brown said, you can do what?
You love everybody else. That's my man right there.
Right?
Yeah. When you love yourself, you love everybody.
Because
yeah.
the root, when I said the root of everything is what? Love.
Yeah.
But you first got to love what? The first law of nature is what?
Yeah.
Self-preservation. So once you learn that, then you can love your wife. Then you can love your children.
Right.
And then you can love your community.
Yes.
Because charity starts what? At home.
Yes, sir. So, guy, I'm gonna try to wrap this up. How many people do you employ?
Man, one time I had like 15. Guess
Right.
what? Now it's down this man to the wire.
Yeah.
You know, because it's to the point that it's just me and my brother, man. You know, and
Yeah.
you know, so it's this family more so helping out because it's to the point that, you know, we're at the time now that the enemy is giving stimulus check. People got excuses of want to rob and want to steal because it's a hard time. Every time you talk to somebody, they say, man, I'm just staying out the way.
Right.
You know what I say? I'm getting in the way.
Right.
I'm gonna get in the way because I gave my life and my death for this.
Right.
You know, I gave my life and my death for to sell drugs. I took that chance.
Right.
I took that chance on everything that I could think of wrong. I want to take my chance on doing what's right. So I'm gonna be in the way.
Right.
People tell me I'm just staying out the way. That's the problem. Everybody's staying out the way.
Man.
You know,
It's a big path.
it's a big path. So I'm going to get in it, and my path is that I want to help my people. But first, I want to unite what I know is the community that I love, both more science, which is my root, Al Islam, and the Nation Islam. Because Nation Islam, if you want to be afraid about it, if you ever talk to them, they don't have Christian. They get along with the Christian community better than anybody else. If you ask the Sunni community, the first thing they say is be kufars. You disbelieve. Nobody else, everybody else has a route with each other, but they the ones that want to unite.
Right.
You ever notice that?
Right.
And I'm not trying to be biased. It's just that I see the
That's
word.
your opinion.
I see the word. Would you say something too? It's the word, man. You know, the proof is in the pudding.
Right.
And I see the word, and that's why I want to continue to. Where people like, we brothers and nations don't wear a beard. They don't, you know. Yeah, I wear jolly beards. I'm a Muslim.
Right.
You know, and this is my way of unifying because looking this way has a lot to do with a lot of people come to me and say, man, I feel like I don't have to feel like I'm a religious gangbanger because I wear a beard and wear jolly beards and a goofy that I have to. I said, no, man. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he didn't know anything about Hanafi. He didn't know anything about Sufi. He didn't know anything about Sunni.
Right.
Only thing he wanted is one nation of Islam.
Right.
He just wanted one. And the Bible, the Quran said, the people wasn't divided into what? Knowledge came.
Yeah.
Right.
So now the knowledge came, everybody want to be the head.
Right.
Nobody want to be the tail.
Right.
You know, when Allah is the head. Head, arm, leg, arm, what head? Allah.
Yeah.
There he goes back.
Leg, arm, yeah.
So let him be the head.
Right.
You know, and people keep asking, well, who's going to be the leader after the minister gone? When the Lord is your shepherd, you don't be.
Yeah.
Because he made us all leaders.
Right.
Self-savers.
Right.
Self-savers.
I agree, man. Neil talk about this all the time. I got a buddy. He say, "I'm not the God, but I'm a God."
That's
so
right.
Everybody sitting around waiting on, man. What he gonna do? What he gonna? Man, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
That's why everybody keeps saying, I'm what? I'm staying out the
Stand
way.
out the way.
And that's, man, somebody got to get in the way, man.
Yeah.
Man, man.
So, Yahya, what's your times of operation?
From 8 to 4.
8 to
I used to be 24 hours, but I broke it down.
Man, you
It
get
ain't
money.
right.
You get money. I can throw it up there.
I ain't getting money, man. I'm just trying to work smart.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm at the tail end of my vision because I opened this to build funds to open up the school.
Right.
Because I want to, you know, if you go to roundtheclockchickenandfish.com, you'll read my story of how I started off. This with a prior intent on the side of the road.
I remember.
You know, because I read an article and I said, and it was a man from Cuba, and I said, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. I remember you used to train and then go stand in front of the mosque.
Yeah.
In front of the mosque.
And fried fish.
And fried fish.
And when it got to the point, they said, man, you can no longer do that. Guess what I found? The corner.
Yeah.
202 in White House Road.
Right.
And I did the same thing.
Yes, sir.
You know, I didn't let nothing get in the way of my vision.
Right.
And that's how, and anybody that's listening, when you have a vision, you got to move on a vision, because if you don't move on a vision, God is going to give the idea to someone else. And you can't say, well, he stole my idea. No, fool, you didn't move on the thought.
Man, that's deep.
That idea ain't nothing.
That's deep.
Put it, yeah.
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah.
And I got that from the Almonds of those
That's
Fridays.
deep.
He said,
Yeah.
man,
You
don't
didn't
say,
move on the thought.
you got to move, because the thought is the cause of it all.
Right. That's right. That's
We'll
right.
keep on moving.
Yeah.
Keep on
You don't
moving.
want to do nothing with it?
Before we get out here, give the people your address, man. For the people come check you out.
Okay, I'm 9140 Edgewood Drive, Capitol Heights, Maryland, and I want to thank the community, because they've been supporters. We've been holding on through this so-called crisis, but we the overcomers, and the community been out for Ignatius More Science Temple of America, Tony community, everyone you can think of. Christian community, everybody been in to support, because this is a place of home. And I always tell people when they come here, this is your home, black man. This is your home, black woman. This is your home, Muslim. Because when you look on the wall, you see Noble Tuali. You see the Most Honorable Muhammad. You see Marcus Garvey. You see Master Fard Muhammad. You see the Honorable Minister of Farrakhan. You see Walt D. Muhammad. You see every leader that you can think of on this wall. You know, and this is our people, and that we cannot no longer let our ancestors down, man. We got to fulfill the vision that was promised, that we promised them that we will overcome. And they didn't sacrifice their life for us to lay down and talk about, we're going to get out of the way. Somebody got to get in the way. And I'm in the way. Man, I like to thank y'all, man.
Yeah,
Hey, look, make sure you support my brother.
Yeah.
He's up and coming. He's blowing up.
He's
Blowing up like nitro. Make sure you support him. Man, I look at him, man, every week, man. I'm proud of him. Especially our favorite show was when his mother was on it.
Yeah.
Because she was dropping out.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing I said, wow, man, mom's power, but I didn't know she was that power.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that was my, believe it or not, and we say this in Arabic, Allah. That means I swear, man, that was my favorite.
Man,
Your mother.
appreciate you.
Your mother, man. I appreciate you, man, and my main man, Neil.
Yes, sir.
Stop being late, Neil.
Please like and subscribe to the Black Function Man channel and share.
Yes.
Yeah, mind, body, and soul. And you know how we go to die, try to die young as late as possible.
Okay. You got anything else you want to say?
Yes, sir. All right. What I would like to close with is that we talked about thought, and we have to get into the mindset that anything of righteousness that we want to do, we can do it. Because we take that same energy into something negative and it manifests, because out of bad comes good. So take that same energy into something positive. That's how I live my life, and I understand the power within self. And you don't have to look, you got to look without self. It's within self, but it's a force greater than self. I'd like to thank you, brothers.
Man, love it. Like what the youngest say, keep that same energy.
Keep that same energy. All right, peace.
Okay, we out.
Man, thank you.